In fact, Erdogan is an agent carrying out orders. Strela.am editor-in-chief Ashot Aghababyan conversation with Turkologist Tiran Lokmagyozyan. Ashot Aghababyan. Dear listeners, our guest today is Turkologist Tiran Lokmagyozyan. Mr. Lokmagyozyan, Turkey's aggressive policy in the Transcaucasia, the Caucasus, the Middle East, and in Central Asia does not have a proper response from Russia and the West, while there is a conflict of interest and there are many contradictions. Tiran Lokmagyozyan. Depending on whose interests they are against. I do not think that they are against everyone's interests. On the contrary, Turkey, especially during Erdogan's time, fulfills some orders. In other words, he is in fact an agent of other forces. That is why he is so brave, he can boast, move forward, his back is firm. And that is why he is aggressive. The West is behind Turkey. It is fulfilling someone else's order. And why does Russia not react? As all this is a global policy, it is mainly directed not against small states like Armenia or Georgia, but it is directed against the most powerful other countries, Russia, Iran, China, and partly against India. There is basically a global struggle going on there between NATO and the Warsaw Pact earlier. Now NATO is a tool for another newly formed bloc. We can say that there is a struggle between the Eastern and Western blocs. The Western bloc is the initiator here. The Eastern bloc is in the defensive position. For example, Russia is quite weak, especially in economic terms. It knows that is behind such steps of Turkey. That is why it does not respond as sharply as it could actually do. The factor of Iran is also big here. The arrows are aimed directly at Iran. It was not in vain that after the Artsakh War, Iran started conducting military exercises on its northern borders. To Aliyev's question why Iran did not do anything like this on the northern border during the Armenians, Iran replied that the Armenians simply did not keep an eye on their lands, did not bring Israel and terrorists here, and did not take any steps against them, and therefore Iran felt very safe. However, when the region was cleansed, Iran was worried because it knew that all this was directed against the interests of Iran, as well as Russia. A Russian soldier is standing on the border between Armenia and Turkey. When Turkey tried to encroach on Armenia on the Turgudoza, the Russian defense minister replied that where the Russian soldier was stationed, they considered it a Russian border, and any encroachment there would receive a corresponding response. The issue was closed. Of course, Russia is not satisfied with all this, but it does not see anything else to do here, as Turkey's aggression does not come from Turkey. That is why neither the West intervenes here because it is in its favor, nor the East because it is in a difficult situation. Ashot Aghababyan. Turkey has called Central Asian countries ostensibly to support culture and education. What would you say about that? Tiran Lokmagyozyan. Of course, Erdogan likes to show a good boy in the district, but if he is not allowed, he can't do it. In other words, there is a line that he does not cross, and today there are places where he steps back. Erdogan has been entrusted with a task, and in carrying it out, he believes that he can do more. But at that time, he is being offended. In other words, he cannot act outside the framework of the program assigned to him. Turkey is not a country where random people take over the country's politics. Like America, Turkey also has a state policy, which does not change for years, nor by individuals. If Erdogan tries to pursue different policy today, they will simply not let him. There are vivid examples of which I will not talk about now. This is the state policy of Turkey. What is happening in the region today is a policy developed 100 years ago. If Turkey does not succeed in that policy today, it will not forget about it. And in 100 years, it will try to pursue the same policy. By the way, 100 years ago, we had the same problem when it was the time of Abdul Hamid. Hamid, the country was in a very bad situation. Different nations, the Muslims were under pressure. Armenian Revolutionary Federation, Committee of Union and Progress, the Bulgarians living in the Ottoman Empire, the Greeks, the Macedonians united with the organizations. They considered Abdul Hamid the source of the evil and called him to be removed. Those nations, including the Armenians, united under the Armenian Revolutionary Federation Party, overthrew Abdul Hamid, but then it got worse. That is why whoever comes to power, the main directions of Turkey's state policy will not change. Ashot, Aghababyan. Turkic-speaking nations have also become more active in Central Asia, which is the same program of Pan-Turkism. Tiran Lokmagyozyan. I would not say that it has become active now. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Turkey entered these territories at different times, tried to activate the peoples there in various ways. Turkey has been working in the Azerbaijan region of northern Iran for 50 years. Turkey does not make noise, it works silently. Then we see its fruits, and we always talk and we do not do much on the other side of toasts. And that's why we are in this situation. For the last 30 years, Turkey has been making efforts to organize these peoples in various spheres, linguistic and cultural. There are Gulen schools that have entered those areas, but since Erdogan is against Gulen, he makes another offer. He offers to close the Gulen schools, so he will open the better ones. He will do more things, which he does. Some countries accept it, some do not. The same process is taking place not only in Asia but also in Africa. Since Özal, and in particular during Erdogan's time, a large scale has been given to the spread of activities in the economic sphere. Africa was not in Turkey's sphere of interest, but under Erdogan there was almost no African country left for Turkish businessmen not to enter. Erdogan personally travels to these countries and creates relations with them. This has been the case with Central Asian countries for a long time. With that, you introduce your culture, your language, you spread your influence, your businessman also earns money there. Then you enter those countries with Western technologies, which are considered barren fields. It is the same as sowing something on uncultivated land. What you sow, you will get 10 times lot. Turkish businessmen are very satisfied from African to Asian countries. They earn much more money. The country also earns money. They even cooperate with those countries in the military sphere. Ashot, Aghababyan. Turkey-Russia relations against the background of the Crimean problem. Tiran Lokmagyozyan. As I said, there are blocks. Turkey and Russia are in different blocks. For those other historical reasons, Turkey and Russia can never be friends because Russia is the leader of its bloc. Today, the two countries are playing diplomacy, trying to gain small interests. Russia has problems neutralizing the Turkish threat there. That is why it often acts through diplomacy, not harsh reactions. There has been a lot of talk in Armenia lately about the Turkey-Russia tandem, about cooperation. I do not take them seriously because such a thing cannot happen. There is a conflict of interests. Why should the Russians bring the Turks to this region? On this issue of Crimea, the Russians saw well that if necessary the Turks shows a tooth and adopts an anti-Russian orientation. The problem here is that Erdogan or Turkey is a performer today. The orders came from somewhere else, and he has no other choice in that global policy. Whether he wants to or not, he must stand by Ukraine in the Crimean issue, as both are in the anti-Russian bloc. The more or less improved diplomatic relations worsened again, but Erdogan had no other choice.